Welcome to the SaaS Channel LinkedIn Live Center, LinkedIn Live series, where we talk about channel for SaaS companies. I'm your host, Angus Robertson, a fractional CMO with Chief Outsiders. My co-host is Teresa Cargill, the founder and CEO of Achieve Unite. And today our topic is partner types with our panelists, Marc Haskelson, CEO of CompTIA Group, and Jason Eberhardt, the VP of Cloud and MSP for Bitdefender. All right, now that I flubbed up the beginning talking about SaaS Channel LinkedIn Live series, let's introduce our panelist, Teresa.
Thank you. Well, I am thrilled to be here with you guys. Marc is one of my faves. Jason has the coolest hair ever. And Angus is the nicest man on the channel. So we're going to have a lot of fun today during this session. And
Great.
to me, there is so much going on in the shift of partner types and their businesses and how vendors and service providers interact with them that I'm really excited to have this conversation with you guys today.
Awesome. Thanks, Teresa. Mr. Haskelson.
All right. Well, I am Marc Haskelson, president of CompTIA Group. What we do is compliance, which oddly enough really helps justify security and IT services or advanced security services. There's a lot of symbiotic with the channel. I'm very excited to be speaking. Been working with Angus and Teresa for a long time, getting to know Jason. I think that this type of dialogue is, well, if I had known about it before I got in the channel, would have saved me a hell of a lot of time and money. So I'm glad that we are as a team helping spread the knowledge.
I remember, Marc, us having an early CompTIA training, having a conversation around MSPs and really uncovering those. And Angus, did you see you and I don't know if you guys see on Marc's left ear and right ear, he has 2 big awards for his company, which is super cool. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
It was
cool.
2 years consecutive. We're actually very proud of that.
And Marc's the reason I know Teresa, actually. So through getting involved with CompTIA, and the reason that I worked with Marc at my last company was all around ecosystem marketing, which I know it's something that we're all very passionate about, how different vendors can join forces to tell a more powerful story to a broader audience. So thanks, Marc. You were very kind in bringing me into the fold of the world of MSP and meeting Teresa and getting involved with CompTIA. And now, Jason, you're a co-chair with me for the Business Applications Advisory Council at CompTIA that Marc was one of the founding members of. So it's all very connected here. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and Bitdefender?
Oh, my favorite topic? No problem. And I also want to say, I feel like the cool kid table just invited me over to sit with them. So thank you guys for having me on today. So I'm Jason Eberhardt. If you don't know me, I want to know you. So reach out. I like to make friends. That's what I do for a living. If you ask my daughter what I do for a living, she said something in computers and he makes friends. I couldn't say it better myself, right? I get to smile all day. I get to help people. But I work at a place, and I'm very privileged to be the Global Vice President of Cloud MSP at Bitdefender, cybersecurity, next gen. We've been next gen since 2001, but we just didn't market it. So we do everything from EDR, MDR, antivirus, patch management, encryption. I could go on for about, 30 minutes about all the things we do, but I'll stop right there because my favorite topic, besides talking about my hair, thank you, Teresa, is talking about the channel. So I'm very, very excited about this conversation.
The hairy channel, Jason Eberhardt. Woo!
Yeah, it's awesome to have you, Jason, and also Marc. And you both are in very hot spaces with very hot companies. So security and compliance, something that a lot of companies need, and the channel's responding very well to. So with that, let's start talking about partner types. And Marc, I'd love to start with you because you've obviously built your company pretty much from the ground up, and it's been a very interesting journey. Now you've got some nice Inc. 5000 awards behind you. So it's a long journey. It's a tough journey, but it's awesome that you've achieved what you have. And I know one of the key decisions you made along that journey was whether you sold direct or you worked through a channel. So for SaaS companies, is channel a good idea? And how did you come to wanting to work with the channel?
Yes, I do think for the right offering, the channel is an amazing thing to do. If it is not the right fit, and that's why I think the Business Application Advisory Council was such an important thing, is that now we're giving tools to people to try to figure that out. But as far as the channel, in our case, we continue to have a very thriving and a much larger, actually, direct business. The channel became very complementary. And what we see is often people are looking for channel to, let's say they don't have sales forces, or they don't feel that they can effectively market. And that's obviously one great way that the channel can give you access to, very trusted MSPs. Their clients trust them with basically their businesses. But it also becomes very symbiotic or it can be very symbiotic and complementary. So for example, what we found, we do compliance tracking solutions, very heavy in the healthcare space, and HIPAA would be the number one. But one of the things we found by accident, to be very candid with you, an MSP kind of showed up as a client. He needed to be compliant, so to keep his client, a big client he just won, so he was looking for us to help him get what's called our seal, so he could get this new business. But what we found very quickly was the combination, and I think this happens with lots of other, let's say, SaaS technologies. If you understand and you take the time to really understand what's going on in the channel, often it becomes very symbiotic, right? So in our case, one of the things that we did not realize going in as we started dealing with this initial first MSP, we had to build a partner program, how to deal with compensation issues and there's a whole bunch of things that you have to really think about within your organization. But ultimately, what we found was what was good business for us also had a very profound effect on our partners. So, when we started working more deeply, let's say with, like, for example, with PAX 8, we realized that, and Jason, you'll like this, most MSPs are not particularly sophisticated salespeople, right? It's not what they're known for, right? So it turned out that our involvement helping that the channel became very powerful for us. One, because it gave us access to more clients. But two, we realized that what we did justified all the advanced security tools that MSPs were really having a tough time getting the average client to understand, right? So that the channel can become very symbiotic, in my opinion. There's a lot of benefits that will come when done correctly. How's correct is obviously a lot of different angles, but truly, it is a good idea when done correctly. But I do highly recommend, and this is great why, like, things like this live event and the tools that are being built by CompTIA, done wrong, expensive mistake. Okay, yeah. Done right, lucrative expansion, benefit for all parties. So hopefully, as we talk more, I'll try to give more examples of where we saw that.
Great.
Well, Mark, you covered some pretty advanced topics there. Being able to sell direct and through the channel is a dance. And figuring out that partner value proposition, how it aligns with your business model and value proposition, is certainly tough. And Jason, you've built a pretty awesome channel program at Bitdefender with a whole bunch of different partner types. How do you keep them all straight? What different types of partners are you working with? And how do you make sure you're selecting the right one to really drive success? Because the wrong one can really cause some challenges, right?
Yeah, so I would like to change the terminology from friend or also family, then partner, and those are the real ones. The ones I call partners are the ones that we haven't become family or friends yet. And to Mark's point, I think anything you're talking about, whatever the solution is, whatever the security acumen is, whatever the offering is, that's the starting point. I can't go to a company, I can't work with a company, I can't offer something that I don't truly believe in and genuinely believe in. And what I figured out very early in my career is people can tell if you care. And I'll tell a quick little story. I know this isn't story time, but I'm going to tell one. I did a project for a very, very large software vendor in Seattle. I'll let you guys all figure that out. Okay, you guys all know who it is now. And I used to be a consultant, and I used to do very large security implementations, and I did one for them. And it was a pretty big deal, right? I was in there with guys that were wearing lab coats and two away from the CEO that now owns the Clippers. And if you now you don't know who it is, I'm not going to give you any more clues, right? But it was funny because I was in there and I was presenting, and they brought a contractor in. And the contractor, they said, hey, can you kind of mentor her and show her the ropes? And I said, absolutely. So she followed me around. I did a presentation in front of the execs. The story's coming to an end. And so she came to me at the end and said, hey, can I ask you a question? And I said, yeah, absolutely. She goes, how do you make them think you care? And I looked at her and I said, okay, I want you to write this down. This is going to change your life. I do. And she goes, what do you mean you do? I said, I don't do anything I don't care about because people can tell if you don't care. If I'm just going in there telling you what your solution is and not listening to what you're talking about, then I'm giving you the wrong solution and I'm just talking, right? It's like commercials back in the day before TiVo. Yes, I'm that old. I use TiVo. But back to the partner types, Angus, to your question, long-winded intro to my answer, right? I have many go-to-market strategies. So with my business specifically, you can have the normal traditional ARR business channel working through like the big boys, Insight, CDW, those kind of guys, right? Yearly business, partner programs, deal reg, all that. Been there, done that, love it, right? But this is the other side of it. The other side of it is when you look at Blockbuster versus Netflix. I always ask people, do you have a Netflix subscription? And sometimes they say no, which is very rare. And I say, you're not my friend, go away. But the rest of the people I'll talk to, the people that have the Netflix, do you think about paying for it? No. Does it just deliver what you need? Yep. That's subscription-based offerings, right? So I have many markets. I have marketplaces. I have direct, which is very, very, very rare. And when I say direct, I mean direct channel. And what I mean by that is direct to the MSP who sells to their customer. So again, I don't go directly to that customer. RMMs, remote monitoring and management. You know, we got Kaseya, ConnectWise, Ninja, all of those guys, SolarWinds. There's so many of them out there. Atera, they are really making a difference with the platforms and MSPs and being able to distribute data. Another one, right? They just keep popping in my head. And so we got marketplaces, direct, we got RMM, and then we got distribution. Traditional distribution is stepping up. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but they are stepping up with marketplaces, the monthly recurring business, the offerings in the cloud. So anyway, the way I do it is I make sure that there's no channel conflict internally to our business because I don't want one person looking at the other one saying, why did they get a discount? So we have different strategies. We have different ways of making it. You have to buy the platform for a discount. I can ramble on for about an hour, but I will say that we have very little to no channel conflict. And I'll say the last thing is I was on with an RMM and they said we should all get shirts that say shift happens because shift does happen in the channel when it comes to SaaS. I will tell you it's less than 1 or 2% in my business. So back to you, Angus.
Yeah, that's great, Jason. And I mean, you just named 6 or 7 different partner types that a SaaS vendor can consider. And for Marc, because he's been through this, he's talked to all those different types, he's tested them out, he's been able to justify it for his business, but too often the broader business doesn't understand that there's more than just one channel. How do you communicate that? How do you explain that? And I guess, Jason, perhaps you could share that, and then Marc, I'd love to hear some of your thought, how you evolved your thinking about the channel too.
So it's very hard to explain. I listen. And so when I work with partners, I listen to what they want. I just had an article come out, I think it was last week, that, you know, rules are made to be broken. We all know how that can be taken out of context sometimes, right? But I did say those words, so touche to the reporter, right? He got me. But literally, I listen and I understand what works for you, not what's going to work for me, what's going to work for you. And I know it's so cliche, but gosh, it's so basic, you guys, and everybody that's listening to this. It's so basic. One of the things I always say to people, if it's a crazy idea that you think nobody would ever say yes to, that's the ones I want to hear. Because what we did to get to where we are today in this industry is thinking inside the box. To get to that next level, we got to think outside the box. So some of the craziest ideas I've ever heard of, I've implemented all of them, almost all of them. I love them. I love every single one of them. Right. Like, hey, that's going to work for you. I'm still going to get my product out there. I'm still going to secure people. We're both going to make money and we're going to high five and have a drink and smile. I'm in, right? So literally that's my blunt answer. I listen and I implement what they bring to me.
Great.
Yeah, that's a really key point to get to that infrastructure such that you can start to innovate and be creative and try out new things and really start to differentiate and stand out from the crowd. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I think to add on to that, I think one of the things that's changing, and I think this is, you know, the channel, the way people do business is evolving. Okay. So even the concept of SaaS, to me, my background is in payment processing. Okay. So the concept of continuity and subscription billing has been around for a long time. Okay. What we're seeing as SaaS businesses is a dramatic different thing. Really, what you're seeing is the evolution of things like line of business decision making. Okay. The concept that now it used to be to deploy something was a big decision, a lot of people involved, took lots of time. Hey, now people are, you know, I go on, you know, my head of marketing goes online, sees something he or she likes, they have a credit card, and now all of a sudden data's flowing, you know, systems need to be working together. So the MSP evolving into, or the channel and this some of goes as a SaaS player looking at the channel, is there's an opportunity to help your partner, let's say the channel partner, serve their end client better by helping them increase the value proposition they have around bringing all these diverse things together, right? Very few people are now just a single, there's very few are just running on a single platform, right? So I think that that evolution is really making the channel, when done, let's say for the MSPs that are embracing this, they're now really becoming advisors to their clients. I think they're also getting, and when you talk about for vendors that want to come in the market, understand often the end client has similar problems that we all do. Okay, it's not their, let's say instead of thinking just of security and technology, or I worry about compliance and the intersection point in between mandated encryption, etc. But think about also, everyone's got a billing platform issue they got to deal with. Everyone's got a ticketing system they got to do. So that if you are going to your client and keeping, to echo what Jason was talking about, if you're listening to what their problem is, instead of trying to put something that I'm here to push this widget with you, right? If you sit and talk to them, after a while, you're going to find that, wow, you really need this widget, but what you really needed were these two other things to come together so you got value out of this. And then the differentiation is you've created value for the client, right? Now the MSP is a better solution for their end client. And I think one of the things, I don't know if we're going to talk about it on today's call, is selling to, selling through, helping them sell. There's a lot of complexity there. I don't think there's one right answer. I think it really depends on what you're selling and how it rolls out with the client.
Well, Teresa, at Achieve Unite, you've built quite a few partner programs over the years for some of the largest and most successful companies in the channel. When you look at businesses and SaaS companies and their considerations around expanding their growth through channel and taking advantage of some of the things that channel has to offer, such as sales, billing, service, even customization, how do you assess a company and figure out how to match them with the right type of channel?
Partner type. We definitely go into our client engagement with a couple of assumptions. One of them is, and increasingly is, every company needs a partner ecosystem. Doesn't mean every company needs a channel. Everybody needs an ecosystem, especially in the world we're operating in, and COVID really magnified that. So we definitely go in with that. And Mark and Jason, your point around the devil's in the details, right? And there is a very deliberate what your company strategy is, what solution you're selling, what partner types will reach your end markets. All of those things have to be followed. It's very linear. And Angus, you've been through this, right? The science to it. And it is increasingly a science of how to do this and do this right. And I've had the privilege of working with companies that were failing, and they have been trying and dancing with it, and it was failing. And it's usually because they didn't go through the science. They jumped to a platform, or they jumped to a program, or they jumped to hiring a person, or these things that if you didn't do these things, you don't know what kind of person you need to hire. If you didn't do these things, you don't know what kind of program you need to build. So that's really important. And then the last thing I want to jump on the back of both of your points is the business proposition. So there's a value proposition to a customer. There's a business proposition to a partner. And what a digital agency cares about, and what a marketplace or what an Accenture cares about, are all different. And I believe services, think about Salesforce, one of the biggest partner ecosystems in the world without a dollar going through the channel, right? Their services. So how do we propel partner services models? And intellectual property. Those are going to be two of the biggest things over the next 3 years, I think.
Yeah, Teresa, we've implemented professional services to all of our contracts moving forward now because of that exact reason, right? I used to run a services organization long time ago when I was really smart. And when I ran that organization, it was mostly around security services. And what we found out very quickly, and I know you guys will know this, but maybe somebody listening wouldn't, but what I would say is, if you implement the solution correctly, then it stays sticky.
Right.
It works the way they want it, and then they buy more stuff. A lot of the time is when they buy a product and they put it on the shelf. We all know the word shelfware, right? It's been around forever. But if you don't implement it and you implement it wrong, is even worse than not implementing it at all, right? Because then they think, oh, it just doesn't work. But that's something that we're taking very seriously moving forward in the channel.
That, you guys know the layer model, land, adopt, expand, renew. Many of our incentives are in land and renew. And what you just talked about, Jason, is this adopt, expand is so important, and partners can really, really help in that domain.
Yeah, the terminology I use on a daily basis with my team and my entire organization: win every day. And with the SaaS model, if you don't win every day, you're losing. There's no standstill. Because if you have an account, they either can go away or they can grow. So my charts look like this right now. Everybody knock on wood. Let's keep the luck going, right?
Woo,
but just as easy to go that way if you do something wrong, right? So literally win every day. And that's not only winning and like making a sale, but win the respect of your accounts, win the respect and trust of your accounts, create an actual family atmosphere. I know a lot of people have a hard time with that, but I will tell you, the old homage, people buy from people they like. Anybody that tells you differently is just not true.
Jason, do you like Angus? The nicest
Just a little. Just a little.
We see what happens, Angus. We can't go a few minutes without picking on you a little bit.
There you go. But the services side is so interesting because I'm working with a client who is a services company, and they work with a tens of billions of dollar company selling their solutions into the enterprise. But a significant challenge is the complexity of some of that next gen technology. So getting it implemented quickly, getting it adopted effectively so it can truly be operational and part of that company's day-to-day activity, and they're seeing those benefits from that adoption. It's so hard to see that happen. And if you don't get that implementation and that adoption, you're going to have challenges with upsell or even retention. And it's cool that you both brought that up because I'm absolutely seeing that too. On the ecosystem side, that other piece you brought up, Teresa, I'm a big fan of that, especially now you just can't be a point solution. There's just too much, there's too many vendors out there, there's too much competition. And that mind share of any prospect or any customer is just so limited now. So and so precious. So getting that partnership where you have that 1 + 1 = 3 or even greater than that is so critical, in getting that reach and also that persistent differentiation and that stickiness. Marc, I know you've been fairly successful here. What have been some of your thoughts or strategies in making that real?
So I think there is a most successful firms and people, salespeople, right? You'll think that they are really good at what is the intersection points.
Yes.
So you want to call it value propositions or what's in it for that, whatever it is. But what I find is some people are more sensitive to it, right? So for example, like Jason, you're saying, if you ask my daughters are now grown up, the last one went to college already. But what they used to say was, Daddy fixes things. They have no understanding of what he did, but they heard me always on the phone say, okay, this what's wrong? Hang on, we're going to do this and solve a problem.
It's true too.
Yeah, right? So to them, I could fix anything. That was it. But the point being, let's say if you take it into vendors coming into the channel, how to work with an MSP. Jason, to your point, the MSP, has a client. Okay. They can either satisfy that client, grow within them, potentially lose them. There's a lot of different directions they can go. The more value proposition, and I like expectations and value propositions. It's kind of like my world, I'm always balancing, right? So from a value proposition, say for example, so our value proposition, we make people HIPAA compliant. Yay, right? So what that became two different messages in the channel. To an MSP, it was, I need to be compliant to get my client. Right? Legally, I have to do that. Okay? I have to prove so to the average, let's say to an MSP, which is like, look, I got to do this, check off a box. Where, let's say, that initial expectation, great. Where real value started happening was when you start thinking of, let's say, what is the value to the end client, and that is in common with the MSP. So often as vendors, we can help our partners look much smarter, expand by giving them, to Teresa, to your point, traveling as a pack of solutions, a stack that's designed to address a vertical need.
Right.
Although look, obviously I'm a little healthcare specific because of what I do, but I've had this debate many times with businesses, whether they are the vendor or the end client. Just focus on something.
Right.
Okay. Once you put those two things together, you'll provide greater value. And in our case, we realized that when we help the MSPs sell to the end client, they got a stickier end client, but what they really got was far more MRR and much more profitable MRR revenue. Okay.
I remember that epiphany that you had.
Double the revenue, triple your profit. Let the compliance come in and help you. But and by the way, that was a tricky. So forgot. That's a marketing thing, right? We quickly learned that, and this goes to value proposition. They didn't want to hear something generic. We're going to help you do this, solve a problem, whatever. It was when we said, look, you're freaking out about you're not making enough money. You can't get above a certain mark with your client. We can give you the messaging and help you deliver it. Right? That value prop. The real thing was really understanding which value prop was most important, right? So the MSP was double your revenue, triple your profit. To the end client, it was, I don't want ever to be on the front page that I had a breach or incident. I am afraid of negative exposure, right? So that understanding that's the messaging we helped that we gave to MSPs to bring to their clients, or the way we, so for folks that are coming into the channel, it's not just one channel, right? There are different, understand the value prop, listen to Jason, what you were saying about listen, most of the time people will tell you what they're worried about, right? They'll tell you what's on their mind if you shut up and listen. So hopefully that helped.
That was brilliant. I loved we're going to grab Angus, his quote around what the client and the MSP cared about. That was a great example of the difference between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, time has flown by and we're already at the bottom of the hour. Let's move to takeaways. Teresa, given all that we've talked about today for our audience, and considering the different partners and partner types and some of the cool strategies we talked about for seeing that activation and adoption, what do you want to leave the audience with?
The devil's in the details. Do your upfront homework right, and you will reap the benefits 18 months to 2 years later. Yeah, it's great. Mark?
I would say really it's two things, which is focus and really understand what's in it for your client, or whichever the client is. So that your value prop is strong from their perspective versus your perspective, right? What we thought was what we wanted.
Absolutely. Mr. Eberhardt, what you got for us?
Okay. Well, what I will say is, of course, I agree with the cool table, right? So again, thank you for having me sit with you guys today. I didn't even touch my lunch. I was so nervous. But what I will say is, and I said it a lot, and if you know me, I know you're going to be like, okay, here it comes again. Just care. And when I say that, that encapsulates everything we spoke about on this thing. If we say what we do and we do what we say, if we care about the customer or the MSP or the distribution partner, RMM, whatever it is, and we listen to what makes them successful, that will in turn make you successful. So if you care about your work items, you care about how you present yourself, you care about how you present your decks, what's the proposition, the value add, the channel, everything. But really what it comes down is people. We are in a people business. People forget that sometimes, but we're all trying to do something different and try to be positive in this world. And my main thing that I'll stop with right now is be so positive that negative people don't want to be around you. And then you're going to be smiling as much as me.
My grandma would be so proud of you, Jason.
Fantastic. This has been a blast. Mark, Jason, Teresa, thanks for sharing some insights into the different partner model types and some strategies for actually making that happen. We know from your experience, you've certainly been able to do that. And we look forward to talking to you again. And for all of our audience, we look forward to seeing you next time around. Thanks.
Thanks. Great job.
Bye, guys.
Bye, all. Take care.